Let's talk about outrage. Um, or the way that I heard someone describe it, that I really like this outrage porn, which is this really strange thing that, to me, it almost feels like it's a recent thing, but I mean, I guess if you look at sort of like history, it doesn't seem to be. It seems to be like something that we've been dealing with in different ways for a while, but I guess now because of the methods that we use for communication, maybe it just feels louder. But it's this thing that it's almost like a virus in which people seem like they just want to be angry about things. People seem like they just want to find things in the world in which to be outraged about, in which to be concerned about, in which to like be pissed off. That I think this ties to the idea that there's also people, not to say that the two groups of people are different groups, but the idea that there's people who seem to be playing or trying to qualify for the suffering Olympics. That even though there's so much interesting things out there, even though there's so many cool things to be excited and to look forward to, and even things in ourselves for us to be proud of, there's people who are absolutely convinced that the way in which they play the game of life is to find things of which to be angry about, to find things in which to feel pain about, and to find things in which they need to shout or convince the world of doing things in this way or the other. And so in that, it almost seems like it's also like almost like a bottomless trip, a bottomless hole of a trap, that if you're qualifying to participate in the suffering Olympics and you're like, man, my life is shit because this and this and this and this and this reason, and then someone comes by and they say something that you think is upping your ante, you're like, oh, but my life also has this other thing that is also bad, and then, you see people going through this kind of like back and forth of, no, I have it worse. No, I have it worse. No, I have it worse. And I find it interesting because, again, one of the questions that I often ask is, what the fuck is the game? What the fuck are we playing at? What the fuck is it that we're trying to achieve by playing this game? Like, what is really like the end goal? Like, how is this a game worth playing? And so I think to some degree everyone's sort of like guilty of this, particularly the outrage. I feel like everyone has sort of like their buttons that, like the moment someone says something or the moment someone has like a particular perspective on a topic, people will just like absolutely flip their shit. Now, the thing that I find even more interesting than that is that there are some topics in which it seems like the logical or almost like the consensus reaction is to be outraged. That, one of those topics is flat Earth. That if you bump into someone who believes that the Earth is flat, you're supposed to be like outraged at them. That if you bump into someone who says something that might seem like a racial remark, even if you took it out of context or whatever it is that whatever the situation that you heard it, that you need to be angry about that. That somehow you being angry about that, it makes the world in any way, shape, or form a better place. That somehow you're helping to solve the issue of being angry about what the person said by being angry about what the person said. And I don't know, it just seems really fucking goofy. I think for one, it seems goofy because, again, like, I don't understand how in any way this is a game that is useful to us. But then the other part, and it's a part of examples in which this happens as a collective, like what I mentioned with Flat Earth, or what happens with other topics like vaccines and these kind of things, that it also feels like it's a form of almost like brainwashing, that I'm like, how the fuck are so many people so emotionally invested in things that are almost irrelevant to daily life? Like with the example of Flat Earth, like, since when do people care so much about what the fuck the shape of the planet is? Since when are we such shape lovers that never in my life has it been a topic of conversation of, hey, do we need to take Highway 5 or Highway 6? Like, which highway are we taking? What is the shape of the planet today? How does the shape of the planet affect the way in which we're getting from A to B? Like, whatever shape the planet has, it doesn't fucking matter. You know, it does not, if it didn't affect your life yesterday, it won't affect it today. So why are we willing to be so angry and mean to people who just look at the world differently in whatever way that is, as opposed to just being like, hey, you know what? It's actually fucking cool that you think that the world is different. You know, if we all thought that everything was the same, this would be a really fucking boring place. Can you imagine if everywhere you went to, everyone just agreed with you on everything, that whatever you said, you wouldn't even need to say it because everyone around you would already know it, that there would really not even be a point to uttering a word because everyone is thinking the same thing as you. Everyone's looking at the world through the same lens as you. It would be a really fucking bleak place. It would be a really fucking boring place. And so maybe what we need is some, like, a little bit of gratitude and being like, hey, you know what? There's people who look at the world differently. There's people who look at science differently. There's people who look at religion differently. There's people who use words in a way that is different to you, and they don't mean ill to you in any way in the words that they are using. They're just using words. They're just saying things with their face. And why does that have to be such a topic of immense attention and turmoil? And so, again, I'm kind of intrigued because I think the other maybe flip side to this is that maybe all this like outrage porn and all these people participating or applying into the Suffering Olympics, maybe they're really like a minority. Maybe they're just people who are really outspoken and really vocal, and other people get involved because they think this is sort of like where everyone is. But in reality, most people don't give enough fucks about most of this stuff. I think it also puts us in a position of stagnation, that if you're part of a group of people who are out there just hunting people down, hunting people who said certain things, who maybe acted in certain ways, if you're part of a community of people out there hunting people who are not living in the most redeemable way by the standards of that group, then you also know that someday the group might turn on you. So you exist in this sort of like state of fear in which you always feel like you need to call other people out first, because one day, if you're slow, someone's gonna call you out first, and someone's gonna point the outrage porn at you. Someday you are not gonna get invited to the Suffering Olympics, and everyone else is going, and everyone else around you is going to, and you're putting an immense amount of pressure on you on not being on either of those situations. So what's what's kind of like the point? What's the point of being in a state in which you need to always be on edge, in which you always need to like be cautious about every single move that you make, about every single word that you utter, about every word that you say and who you say it in front of and how they might take it or not take it. That seems like a really, like, for those who are playing that game, like, what is the end game? Again, the same question as before. Because if the goal is to exist in a world in which everyone needs to be in fear of everything that they do, say, think, or do, then is that truly a world that we want to be a part of? Is that truly a world that we would be proud in creating?